What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time Live. And once again, we are waiting out the storm. It is snowing like you wouldn't believe outside. We want to wish everybody, we want to wish everyone is safe from the Carolinas all the way to, I got family down in Texas that are dealing with the ice part of this storm. We want to wish everyone up in New York, Philly, all the places that are getting hit with more than what we're getting snow-wise. So we want to wish everyone safe travels and just make sure you're safe and you've been prepped for this storm. We want to give a big thank you to our sponsors. We want to give a big thank you to our first sponsor, Mac Gaddis, your local State Farm agent. If you need any insurance help, make sure to contact Mac Gaddis. Secondly, we want to thank Wired to the Nines. If you have any low voltage help that you need, camera install, cable install, any of those type of installs, or if you have any questions about what they can install, make sure to contact Wired to the Nines at wiredtothenines@yahoo.com. And last but not least, Big Z's Sports Bar is the third and final sponsor of the Game Time Network and Game Time Live. If you need some wings, if you need steak, if you need beer, if you need whatever you need, and you want to sit down and enjoy today's, well, you won't be able to go to the bar today, but if you want to go to the bar in the next couple days, head to Big Z's Sports Bar for all of your foodie and drink needs. We've got the full crew here today on this cold Sunday afternoon. I've got D. Cott, who's a little under the weather, but he's kind of ramping back up here to get ready to do the show. And then we've got Coach Ramon, Hall of Famer Ramon Stallings, in the building today with his Butler logo in the background. I need some more Butler merch. All my Butler hoodies don't fit me anymore, but I keep them just to show, I rep the Bulldogs more than any other IU school other than IU East. But it is good to have everyone in the building today, fellas. It seems like we're in a position where we have no choice but to talk a lot about the NBA and a little bit of college basketball. I think with college basketball, everybody's getting ready for January 31st, Daryl. Darren Peterson versus AJ DeBonta, BYU versus Kansas is the matchup everyone has their eyes set on. And then in the world of the NBA, we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about the Lakers article. So yes, I'm going to have to talk about the Lakers again. We're going to talk about the Knicks going in a slump. The Clippers were right on the money, as Daryl said a couple weeks ago about the Clippers. We're going to talk all things NBA. If you got anything you want us to talk about, put it in the comments below if you're watching the live stream. But Daryl, Ramon, I will give you guys the chance to talk about some of the bigger news for us. 250 subscribers. And not only that, we have now hit 50 followers on TikTok. So hopefully the next live stream we do this week will be live on TikTok.
Hey, that's great news, man. We've been communicating this, the last few weeks as, looking at our numbers and kind of having some benchmarks of what we want to have at. And one of the things I'm happy about is this: as we've continued to grow, our quality's gotten better, video's gotten better, audio's better. Maybe not today because I feel like I'm so stuffed up right now. but with that said, all we ask is this: give us an opportunity to listen, talk about the things that we're, listen to the things we're talking about, and give us some feedback if you're interested in other topics. Isaiah last week started talking about NASCAR. It got a lot of views on that. I think there are people who are interested in that, and if you are interested, share that with us so we can talk about those things as well. But I'm excited, man, about how 2026 has started. We've got like I said, we added our third sponsor. I look for great things between now and the ending of this year. So I'm pretty excited about things.
Ramon, obviously throughout the fall, you were a little busy with football season. You were in, you were out, but now you're back in the fold here as we get into the new year. Talk about the show a little bit. I know you've been in and out, but it is always great to have you in. So, and obviously, as you've been out these last couple months in and out, you've seen the growth of the show, so it's good to still have you on board.
Yeah, I want to take 100% responsibility of the growth of the show. People tune in to see me. And when I'm not here, they're very disappointed, but I just want to let everybody know that I am back and I will be here on a continuous basis.
There we go.
Bringing you the real in sports. Real facts, real bias, really my opinions. And I really don't care if y'all don't like it.
We've got a clash of ideologies here on the show. Daryl's facts over feelings, Ramon's feelings over facts. So that leads for some good chemistry.
Hey, that's a nice little setup, actually.
Honestly, I thank you guys, man. I thank both of you guys. I thank all of our sponsors, and I definitely thank all of our followers. And if you're following, or if you tune in, or if you catch a clip on multiple platforms, man, share it to a friend. Let them know what we do. Interact with us. We're not always right. Isaiah definitely not always right. And Koch is very seldom right. And I'm often right. So join in and have fun with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm right here and there. Like I said, in the year 2025, I was shooting about 50%, which isn't bad. Peyton Pritchard would probably look at me and be like, "Not bad, kid." So I'm not shooting that bad from long range. Hopefully we can continue to shoot at 50% from three.
People be catching strays with Isaiah all the time, man.
All day. Hey, he just randomly just busts somebody over the head with a pop bottle, like it don't even matter.
We're gonna get into it today. I made the title of the video "Knicks in Trouble or Just a Slump." A lot of news is ramping up on the Knicks and if they're gonna make a move or not, since they're not seeing a lot of success in the last couple weeks. But we will start with what Daryl loves the most. He holds it near and dearest to his heart: college football. We got into it on the national championship game post-game show because I was just like, man, they're gonna ruin this bracket by adding 16 teams or adding 24 teams or whatever stupid decision they were going to do. And the committee, they took a step back and then they took 3 steps backwards right after they took their 1 step forward. They kept it at 12 teams, but then we're adding all these gimmicky implications. The 4 conference champions, they'll be in, and Notre Dame, since that's our golden child that hasn't won anything in years like the Dallas Cowboys, but golden child, if they get into the top 12, which is obvious because even when they have 3 losses, the committee still puts them in the top 10. We're going to give them a playoff spot if they finish in the top 12, which, by the way, would have kept Miami out of the playoffs this year, which that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. I'm going to let Daryl, our CFP enthusiast, and also Ramon get into this a little bit. And obviously I will bring my take into that as well. But Daryl, your initial thoughts on the ruling going to 12 teams and also the gimmicks that they have implemented into next year's CFP.
2-part for me. We've been talking about this, and I said that greed is going to drive it up to 16, and then increase it to more. The issue with it was on the 23rd was that the SEC and the Big 18 couldn't come to an agreement. They didn't say, "Oh, let's just keep it at 12 because it's the right thing." They just couldn't come to a middle ground. If you remember, the Big 10 wanted 16 teams for the next 2 to 3 years and then advance to 24. The SEC wanted it at 16 and staying there. So these millionaires couldn't come to agreement. That's what it was. It wasn't like they said, "Oh, 12 is fine, let's keep it there." They just could not decide and figure out a simple process. So what they did, they said, "Oh, here's what we'll do. We'll flip it from this past year. We'll make sure that every conference winner has a guaranteed bid in the Power 4, excuse me. And then the group of 5 have their winner." So Miami and Tulane would have been out. James Madison would have been out, and in that place would have been Notre Dame and Duke, right? So it's still going to be a lot of controversy. It's going to be a lot of talk about it, and it's not going to go away because that's what people do. We want to complain. We want to be upset. The issue I had with their decision, not so much as the 4 Power 4 team winners of the conferences, and then the top group of 5. My issue is how do you grant Notre Dame, who's an independent, a guaranteed spot if they're ranked in the top 12? What does that say to Connecticut, who's also an independent in football, and if they come in the top 12? So they can't. What's the difference? Because I promise you, if you look at their schedules are very similar. Notre Dame, over the last 2 years, has dropped their strength of schedule each and every year. This year coming up will be the 3rd year. Okay. And if they feel like that's what's going to work for them, great. The committee showed this past year that just because you're Notre Dame, we're not going to bring you in. But it's going to be interesting to see if they're hovering around that 10 to 13 ranking if they've got 2 losses this time next year. Well, not this time next year, next year. So if Notre Dame gets 2 losses like they've gotten over the last couple of years, where do they stand? Because I think strength of schedule is going to come into play as well too. So a little disappointed that happened, but at least they did something to try to tweak it, and I'm ready to see what happens for next year.
Ramon, your thoughts?
I like it. I like what's going on. If you're going to use the 12, I like what they're doing. I like that the conference champion is going to get in the what's the name. That's going to require the ACC to change their tiebreakers because they're the only team. They're the only conference with a different tiebreaker than everybody else. Get on board. If your tiebreaker was the same as everybody else's, Miami would have been in the conference championship. You know, so you want to be that. You want to be that one of these kids is doing his own thing. You know, and it can bite you this year. As far as Notre Dame being in the top 12, you know, I don't know if that's here nor there. If you're in the top, if you finish, if there's top 12 teams and you're a top 12 team, you probably should, you know, be in or definitely considered to be in the playoff of 12.
Yeah,
that means you're one of the 12 best. You know, your comparison to UConn, if UConn's in the top 12, I will argue for them that they should probably be considered for the playoffs, but they ain't going to be in the top 12. And I'm looking at their schedule. You playing Delaware, Buffalo, Ball State, FIU, Rice, UAB, Air Force, Florida Atlantic. You're not the same as Notre Dame as an independent. You know, you're just not. You know, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I hate leprechauns. So, you know, but it is what it is. Do I think that Notre Dame gets treatment, preferable treatment? Yes, they do.
Yep.
Do I think if they're in the 12, they should be left out? Probably no, I don't. You know, so I'm good with where it is right now. I think it needs some more tweaking, but I'm good. You know, I'm not a big fan of the group of 5 even being in it. Like, you come in there to get slaughtered. Because I can't see the group of 5 ever winning the game. Yeah. Now, they probably will one day, but more than likely, they're going to catch an L.
I think it's a financial thing with that, Ramon. I think there's a legal issue there, and that's why they have to include at least one group of 5. I haven't studied as much as I should have, but there's a legal precedent there is why they're in there. And that's why people say, hey, they need to have their own piece, right? So therefore, you know, they're not pulled into that.
You're saying they need to have their own playoff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what some are saying, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think the big thing with this is I don't necessarily disagree with the Power 4 conference champions. I think Ramon makes a good point. The way the ACC did their whole tie-breaking thing this year was stupid because, I mean, Miami definitely should have been in the conference championship game. Virginia and Duke basically ruined your chances of having more than one team in there. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. It does feel like they've changed this rule year over year. I mean, at first it was, you know, the top 4 conference champions get a bye, and then it was okay. Now we're just going to do overall record, and now it's Power 4 conference champions will be just guaranteed a spot. So, you know, we're doing a lot of changes, and I get it. It's still a fairly new system. You got to continue to make tweaks and see what works best. I don't agree with the Notre Dame thing. You know, if they've got 3 losses and they're still ranked in the top 10 come, you know, next season or top 12, I don't think they deserve to be in over if there's a 3-loss Texas in there or a 3-loss Vanderbilt. Literally the same case that I made weeks ago is the same case that I'm going to put up for now because I still agree with the fact that Texas may have had a stronger argument. I think Vanderbilt had a way stronger argument than them. You know, it's just Notre Dame being handed an award because we don't want to go to a conference. We want to be able to it's like the youngest child. I mean, they get to get away with everything, and all the older children get ridiculed for doing the exact same thing, and the younger child gets no consequences and they get a completely different rule set.
Man, no, there's not
Ramon, doesn't that sound personal? Ramon, doesn't that sounds awfully personal what Isaiah just said.
Might as well call out his siblings' names, right?
I'm not even. It's not even like that.
Names. Hey, we don't need this. We don't need this shade. Just drop their names.
It's not shade. I promise you, it's not shade. I'm just saying. Look, the better Indiana football team just won the national championship. Something Notre Dame hasn't been able to do since what 1944. I don't know. I mean,
87, but close enough.
Yeah. There won't be if Notre Dame has a 3-loss record, they're not going to be in the top 12. So we ain't got to worry about this.
Are we sure?
Man, dude, they ain't going to be in the top 12 with 3 losses.
Hey, what do people say? Hey, Vegas made the call.
Yeah, they ain't gonna be a 3-loss team.
The committee loves Notre Dame so much they don't want their precious Notre Dame to not be outside the top 12.
If they are a 3-loss team, they're going to be 12 teams and 4 conference champions that's going to be in front of them.
All right, we'll see. I think the committee loves Notre Dame too much. I mean, they've already got them in the way too early rankings for next year. They already got them 5th.
Yeah. They should be.
But to your point, way too early.
Early, but 5th.
We listen. I get why we get to the prognostication, but man, this is January. Man, there's a whole lot of dust to be settled until September. Hey, listen, I've been hot and heavy on college football since August, and I mean real hot and heavy. I'm going to give it a break. You know, and I'm talking about from a prognostication perspective. There's a lot of dust to be settled. Who's going to go to the league? Who's not going to go? You saw what happened with Dabo and Ole Miss. And I told y'all on this show, Pete Golding is a capital P, capital O, capital S. I told y'all that. I'm telling you, more is going to come out with this guy. I'm telling you. Ole Miss is going to rue the day that they dropped over to him after Lane rebuked him.
So real quick, Isaiah, I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but if I'm not a fan, you guys know I'm not a fan of rankings this early. I'm not a fan of rankings in the first 2 weeks of the season. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to rank, Notre Dame should be ranked top 5 preseason. They got a lot of returners. They had an incredible recruiting class on paper, and they killed the portal.
Maybe to your point though, Ramon, right? You said 2 weeks. I still say 5 weeks. Let the dust settle. You know,
definitely, and it shouldn't be because we don't know how all that stuff is going to mesh. But if you have to do it, if you are doing it, you can only go by the facts in front of you, and the facts in front of you say that they should be good.
Yeah. And but to that point, we have these ideas of this team is definitely going to be this, right? You know, last year's teams like that were Clemson and Texas, right? You know, they were both top 5 teams in the preseason rankings, and neither sniffed the playoffs, and hell, Clemson fell off a cliff. So something's going to happen this coming fall that we don't expect right now.
Yeah,
maybe another Indiana. Well, maybe one of the prerequisites needs to be we need to measure the age of your team. Since that's such a big deal, the reason why Indiana won, who's the oldest team? Yeah. Maybe we need to put that in play because that's all I've seen.
Daryl, you mentioned earlier about guys going to the league. Speaking of guys going to the league in the next couple months, AJ DeBonta, Darren Peterson, January 31st, BYU versus Kansas. We talked about this, I believe, on the Crosstime College Basketball Show about should the Pacers take DeBonta? Should they take Caleb Wilson? Should they take Darren Peterson? Should they take Cameron Boozer? I am still of the belief that I think Boozer is the best prospect in this draft. And look, I think Peterson is just as good for the most part, but Peterson is more of a 2-guard to me. And with the way Nembhard's playing right now, I think Nembhard, you don't get rid of that Halliburton-Nembhard backcourt. DeBonta slots right in at the 3. Siakam slots right in at the 4. Either Zubac, Jay Huff, whoever is going to play at the 5 next year. I'm still of the belief that this Pacers team should take DeBonta with the number 1 pick. I'm really of the belief that unless you go for fit, you need to draft DeBonta number 1 overall. I think that's the best guy in this draft all around. The one thing that DeBonta doesn't have is 3-point shooting. from the most part, from what I've watched. Other than that, I mean, everything else I can check off the box for the most part. Peterson's probably got the 3-point shot. I mean, both of these guys are really good all around. I think Boozer is the most limited out of the guys that I named there. And then obviously you got Koa Pete, who's probably a far out 5th place guy. I'm excited for this game. DeBonsa is putting up numbers right now in his last couple games. Darren Peterson is playing good as well. Your guys' thoughts on this game upcoming on January 31st, and then just these two guys as well, and where would you like to see them end up? Obviously, Daryl wants to see one of these guys end up on the Pacers, but whichever guy doesn't end up on the Pacers, what team would he benefit the most? As someone that is very excited about Trae Young going to the Wizards, I hope the Wizards can get one of these guys or Cam Boozer.
Man, for me,
I'll pull up Tankathon. Hold
on. For me is this. I watched a lot of college hoops yesterday, right? And Caleb Wilson again impressed me again. Darius Acuff again impressed me.
Yep.
I'm going to hold my thought on who I want my Pacers to get in June, depending on how things play out in the trade market, who leaves and who stays with the Pacers. I don't think that the Pacers could go wrong with Boozer, DeBonsa, Caleb, or hell even Acuff. I mean, I just those Acuff or even Peterson. That's 5 right there. But it just depends, right? I don't want them to have a guard because I think their backcourt is solid, but wing is where it's at. Guys getting out on the wing and going, right? 2-way guys that can put the ball on the deck as well. And I think Peterson putting the ball on the deck right now is better than those guys, other than Acuff. He's a point guard. But man, I saw Caleb Wilson in Virginia yesterday. Man, they're running the offense through him.
Yeah,
and he is not disappointing. So
Wilson.
I don't know. I'm stuck right now. I'm glad it's January and not June right now.
Wilson's clearly the 4th guy in every mock draft that I look at. Pulled up
ESPN. It depends on where you fit, man.
I know it definitely does, but a lot of the mock drafts I see, I mean, it's DeBonsa, Peterson, Boozer, Peterson, DeBonsa, Boozer, or it's either it's Peterson and DeBonsa being flipped and back and forth, with Boozer being 3rd and Wilson being 4th.
I'm gonna tell you, for me, I would take Wilson over Boozer. Absolutely,
I would too.
If it was a draft right now today, I would take Wilson over Boozer.
Yeah,
Wilson is growing. He's growing. You
talk about a Cuff. He's down here at 9th, and Koa Pete's still far down the board.
Which is baffling to me, but again, I'm going to continue to watch more of this. Maybe it's because the fact that he doesn't stick out like these guys with a 40-point game, right? But I just think, look at the youngsters who've come into the draft over the last 3 to 5 years. They haven't been 40-point scorers. They've just been consistent players, and I think that's what we're looking for in that number 1 pick this year.
And I think this is another good name right here that's under the radar, Nate Ahmet. I've heard his name multiple times. I haven't brought him up, which is a shame on me, but Nate Ahmet's another guy that I really like in this draft class as well. This is a deep draft. I mean, there's a lot of guys here that, I remember hearing when they committed to high school, which is crazy to say. Mikel Brown
15
Jr.
Freshmen. 15 freshmen, they're saying, are going to be number 1 picks. 15.
I remember I was watching one of the first college basketball games of the season that I watched is Louisville's game against Kentucky. And that's when I got my first look at Mikel Brown Jr., so it's not surprising to see his name. Kingston Flemings, I'm assuming I haven't watched a lot of Houston this year.
Man,
I know you've been watching Houston a little bit.
He lit them up yesterday. They lost. They lost to, I think it was it Texas Tech they lost. But man, he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's smooth, man. He's a shorter looking Paul George, right? He's kind of that type of smooth. And I don't like Paul George because of the off-court stuff. But, man, I'm talking smooth-wise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kingston. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Well, if I'm Indiana, I'm still very heavy on DeBonsa. Like I said, I mean, even right here, it says Peterson's a point guard / shooting guard. You don't need another guard on this roster. You need a small forward. I think if you have the number 1 overall pick, I think it would be, I mean, either way, Peterson's going to turn out fine, but I really think you got to pick DeBonsa especially with Halliburton and how the way he can feed him the ball. He's going to be able to feed either of these guys the ball, but I really do think it's DeBon. So, Daryl, before me and you go back into it, Ramon, I want to give you a chance to speak.
Just two quick things.
Go ahead.
When thinking about the Pacers drafting a guard, especially a point guard, you have to consider they probably know more about Hallie's injury and how they're going to progress him through the season. And if they want to protect him with someone else over the next couple of years. So that could be a consideration. Like, hey, we're going to cut his minutes down for a year. You know, we need somebody. We're going to have somebody else that can assist that, can help out with that. Or that could be one thing, you know, or concerns that we just don't know about. Two, scroll down, Isaiah. Who got the number 2 pick again?
As of now, it was Sacramento right now. But
all right.
if I pull up Tankathon, this is what it's showing me right now. So this mock draft, Ramon, is from January 13th. This is the latest one. But Tankathon is showing me this right now at where the standings lie.
Well, what I do pray for all the young men going into the draft, that no one gets drafted by the Washington Wizards, the place where careers go to die. From 2016-17 season to 2025-26, they got a 38% win percentage. You know, who wants to be part of that? That's 10 years of continuous losing. So that's not players. That's not coaches. That's a bad organization. When you bad for 10 years consistently. So my two things are, hey, maybe the Pacers know something that we don't know that's being talked about or leaked out or whatever, that they want to protect Hallie a little bit longer. And hopefully no one goes to Washington. Like maybe they can trade or give up all their picks so no young man could ever go through that.
Yeah. Here's my rebuttal, right? In the last couple of years, SARS wanted to go to Washington. Ace Bailey wanted to go to Washington over Utah, over Sacramento. Now, I get it, right? And Daryl said this to me when I brought this up. It's because they wanted the chance to be the guy. You know, they didn't want to go nowhere where there's a good team or that, you know, where they don't get that many minutes. You know, and this isn't saying much, but I'd rather go to Washington right now than I rather would Sacramento. I'm hoping Washington's above Sacramento if I'm a player. I get it. They're in the same boat for the most part. But when you look at what Washington has right now as a foundation compared to Sacramento is, I mean, they're in the pits of mediocrity. They're like the Steelers right now with Mike McCarthy. The pits of mediocrity is where Sacramento is at right now. I would rather go to Washington over Sacramento. I'd probably go to Washington over Brooklyn, regardless of the market, because, I mean, granted, all three of them are bad organizations. But my case here is it only takes one generational talent that can turn a bad organization into a good one. And you got three of them potentially on the board. Caleb Wilson's a fourth. I think there's some couple guys in here that aren't even being labeled as potential superstars, but have the chance. A Cuff Jr. Is another one. Nate Ahmet, Koa Pete. So I personally like what Washington's doing. I agree with you, Ramon. It's still a bad run organization without question. But I think right now when I look at some of the weaker organizations in the league, the more poorly run ones the last couple of years, I think Washington is in a better position than Sacramento and Brooklyn both combined. So if I'm one of these top prospects, I don't know if I want to go to Brooklyn or Sacramento. If I can go to Washington and there's already a lot of young guys surrounding me, and it can be a Houston Rockets type situation where the more we build these young guys up, the more attractive we become, and maybe we get another star in the building to come play with us the same way Indiana got Siakam and the same way, you know, the Rockets kind of lured Kevin Durant.
Well, but
my rebuttal, hold on, okay, I got you. My rebuttal to this is the last winning season for the Wizards was 2016, 2017. Hold on. They've had 10 years of the opportunity to get generational talent. They have 10 years of stockpiling players, and they haven't done it. You got if you haven't had a winning season in 10 years, you've been in the lottery for 10 years. And for 10 years, you still suck.
The thing about that is, right, with Washington, right, KD is from DC. KD had multiple chances to go back home. He didn't want to go there. Okay. And I know those who are Bron lovers hate KD, say he's a snake, he's this. If he's such a snake, go back home then. He didn't even want to go back home. And then you got, the mistakes they made were with John Wall, with the big contract deal. And then you got your boy that's in where Beal. Is Beal at right now? I don't even know what team is Beal on now. I don't even know where he's at now. So I think those are the mistakes they made. Paying guys superstar money, they were very good players. And I think that's just kind of steamroll what's going on with them, man. And I don't see, excuse me, I don't see them getting out of that. They got good young players, but I still don't see the excitement level that one would say, let me get to DC. What's new in DC? They still need a veteran presence. The thing you talk about with Pascal coming to Indiana was different. He came in a trade. He didn't have a no trade clause. But what he saw was, this is a good young team. I'm going to get max money, and I'm a perfect fit. It wasn't a whole lot of selling to Siakam staying in Indiana in his walk year. That determination was made. He says, this is a perfect fit for me. And guys like Siakam, who's already won a title, who's been in All-Stars, All NBA. Remember, Toronto refused to trade him for the Kawhi deal. They was like, they weren't messing with that.
Yeah.
Right. So Pascal coming to Indiana was a match made in heaven. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of thinking about that. But also Indiana's had a history of winning versus these teams we're talking about, Washington, I'm gonna say Bullets, Washington Wizards, New Jersey Nets, Atlanta Hawks. Those teams haven't been winning like the Pacers have. Yes, we're a smaller market team, but Pacers, they've been a very productive organization, yes. And they've got a good front office, a very good front office, because they got to be real creative with cost, because the ownership has said, I'm not trying to go into luxury. So they've had to be real creative, and they've done a good job ever since Bird has stepped down.
No, and you guys make good points. I'm not saying Washington's been run well at all, obviously. I mean, you kept Bradley Beal for far too long. The John Wall injuries ruined a lot of things for you with your ability to compete in the East, which was a weak East at the time. All I'm saying is, right now, when I look at all these teams and I say who's got the best chance of maybe being good in the next 3 years, I would say Washington and Utah are probably at the top of my list of teams that could maybe figure something out in the next couple of years. I'm not saying no championships, maybe one Eastern Conference Finals run or a couple second round appearances. I'm not saying, you go from badly run to maybe decently run for a while is all.
You go somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere, right?
All I'm saying is they may get themselves out of the hole that they've been digging themselves in for a while. And I think Utah and Washington are going to have the best chances.
You got to start somewhere. And to your point, man, they got good young talent. They need some good
Darryl, we talked about it in the offseason. I mean, they've got the young talent to get them somewhere, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, this needs to be your last pick. If you get in the top 3 and you get a chance at one of these 3 guys, this has to be it. Like, there's no more picks. You need to either make the play-in next year or, then I'm probably, there's a conversation that needs to be had. But I like what they've done building this roster. I'm gonna continue to say I'm bought in on Washington for the most part. If this is your last pick and you can get one of these guys, even Caleb Wilson, if you can get one of these guys,
man, I would love to suffer and have to deal with drafting Caleb Wilson.
I get it.
I'd be okay with suffering with that one.
When you're the Wizards, I mean, I'm telling you, it's time to get Chicago, Miami, or Atlanta out of the play-in. One of them needs to be out of the play-in. They've been in the play-in since the play-in started. It's been the Chicago, Miami, Atlanta Invitational since the play-in has started. Somebody's got to knock them out, whether it's Charlotte or Washington or I guess Milwaukee at this point too, since they're going to miss the playoffs. But somebody's got to knock them out of the play-in, because I'm tired. I don't even watch the play-in when I see them playing, because they're always in there every year. So I've got a lot of faith in Washington. We will see what happens. Ramon, I want to ask you about the prospects in question. I don't know if you've gotten to watch a lot of college basketball.
I haven't had a chance to watch it. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot.
Okay. Is there any thoughts you have on the top prospects?
Nah, not good enough to make an educational response. I've seen highlights and I've seen snippets here and there, but I
Yeah.
haven't really sat down and really watched the game.
Daryl,
I watched my first, like, really watch with a close eye. I watched Syracuse play not too long ago.
okay.
And that was the first one I really watched, not as a fan, but as someone who's going to report or talk about the game. So I'll get started really into the collegiate basketball season immediately.
It's probably January 31st is going to be a good starting point with BYU and Kansas. Daryl, I want to ask you something real quick.
Sure.
I want you just because I'm curious, rank the prospects for me, right? I'm gonna rank Peterson, DeBonsa, Boozer, and Wilson. Rank those four in the order that you prefer. And just I mean, for me, it's probably DeBonsa, Peterson, and then I'd probably say Wilson and then Boozer. I think Boozer is fourth.
Man, it's getting closer, man. Hey, listen, in September it was AJ and everybody else. And now
it was still those three. It was still three, but I think Wilson's.
But it was a gap. Remember, we talked about it. It was like a proposed gap. Remember, we said, "Hey, Utah is going to tank, and that's why he's in Brigham Young, so he can stay home." Remember?
I still believe that a little bit, but yes.
All we talked about was AJ. These guys, they were afterthoughts in our conversation. Yes, we mentioned their names, but they were afterthoughts. Now these guys are to the forefront. So.
And Wilson, and when you go back to the media, Wilson wasn't even talked about that much, but except for a couple people saying, "Hey, he could be right up there with them."
Until they saw his claim, they're like, "This dude's the truth."
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying, right? So for me, if I have my, because when the Pacers, they're gonna get the number one pick. So my thinking is, as the season goes, what are we looking at? Right now, I still say AJ won. When we get Pacers will be the first pick in the 2026 draft. It'll be AJ DeBonsa. But with that said, if Vegas gets involved, I would say Peterson, Wilson are neck and neck. Then after that, I'm talking Boozer, and then I would probably say Acuff.
Interesting.
I think
Acuff's projected to go ninth.
I know. I just think he housed LSU. Listen, he's on a team full of McDonald's All-Americans. He stands out. So Milt Wagner's grandson is on the team in Arkansas, right? And which is his dad was I know Milt Wagner because he went to Louisville. DeJuan Wagner played at Cleveland, got hurt. That's his dad. And Wagner, he's getting about 20 minutes a game, but he's an afterthought. When they needed a bucket yesterday, Acuff came to play. He either got somebody involved in that high screen, or he just went to the cup, man. And also, he's got ice water in his veins, too. This dude can shoot. He's rising on my board because, again, like I said, I don't want necessarily Pacers picking a point guard, right? I like the wing play because of the way the NBA is going. But if you see Darius Acuff play yesterday against a talented LSU team and how he took over, they won. I was 85-82, if I remember right. I like him. So that's my five right there. Yes, AJ, Wilson, right there, along with Peterson. Then you got Boozer right there at 4, and then Acuff at 5. That and that type of, now could that change? Yeah, it could. But man, I like those 5 guys to me after this past weekend are probably the best 5.
Yeah.
A lot can change in the next 60 days, man.
Does Koa Pete, does he got Blake Griffin athleticism?
Man, I wouldn't say Blake Griffin was an absolute freak, man.
I know.
I don't think he's got that type of that yet, but he could grow into that, right? Because maybe because they've got a lot of talent on their team. Maybe Arizona, he's being held back like the great Michael Jordan was when he was in North Carolina. No one thought Michael Jordan would be the greatest of all time because, hey, he was only averaging 14 points a game, 16 points a game. The joke was the only person that held Michael Jordan down was Dean Smith.
Yeah.
That's the talk, right? So somebody's going to come out of this thing and say, y'all missed me. I just hope the Pacers don't miss that.
I agree. Because, Here's another one of my wrong takes before we even started the pod. I thought when the Timberwolves traded for Dillingham, I'm like, well, there's your backcourt for the next 5 years, because Dillingham was, I thought, I thought Dillingham, when the Spurs traded Dillingham, I was like, man, that was, they were going to have Dillingham, Castle. I was like, oh, and then they got traded to Minnesota. I was like, yes. I was like, I love this. And then, obviously Dillingham, he's not panning out, which is unfortunate because I was a big Dillingham guy. Ramon, I asked this question on the Cross Time college basketball show, so I'm going to ask you. It feels like in the last couple of years, we haven't seen one of these top prospects win the national championship in March Madness in the last couple of years, it felt like. Do you think this season with March Madness, everyone's talking about how, like, with NIL, the Cinderella story in college basketball is definitely dying out. Do you think one of these top prospects could walk away with the national championship this year? Because it feels like a lot of the early favorites for the Natty in March Madness usually get knocked out before we even get to the Elite Eight or Final Four. And I'm talking about the guys that are projected to go in the top 5 of the draft, not the best player in college basketball that didn't even get drafted high up, So my question to you is, do you see a DeBonta, a Peterson? Do you see any of these guys bringing home the Natty this year to add to their draft stock or whatever?
I think if you look at the history of the NCAA championship in basketball, teams win championships.
Yep.
Not individuals. And so many times the guys who are, one and done or a couple and done, the focus is on them and maybe not the focus on the team. I'm going to refer to football for a second, but bring it back to basketball, right?
Okay.
Someone asked IU defensive line coach or coordinator about their defensive line and their continuing stunts, tackle in twist, tackle twist, and how they continue to work and how that one defensive lineman will give up himself so a linebacker or another defensive lineman can make a tackle. Mm-hmm. And they said we recruit guys who care more about winning than they care about their draft stock. And so I think that carries over to every sport. Teams that win championships care more about winning than they care about their draft position. So when you get guys who are one and done or, high profile, top 5 players, not saying that they're selfish or not saying that they're focusing on their draft position, but maybe the focus is on their draft position by people around them, by the media, and that could affect versus guys who like, hey, we're going to be mid-rounders, we're going to be free agents, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and all 5 of us work together in tandem and win this championship. So to take the long way around it, I think it's going to be the best team. So if one of the 5 or 6 prospects that are really high has a great team and they work together as a team, that individual has the better chance of winning the NCAA championship, to me.
Yeah, I talked about that on the Cross Time show. I mean, it really is. It's such a different game from the NBA because you look at, in the NBA, it can take one player to get you there. Where in college, you want 4 guys giving you 15 points or 5 guys giving you 10 points. It doesn't really have to be one guy giving you 20 points a game. And even the top prospects aren't giving you 20 points. I think Peterson and all these other guys are, a little bit of an outlier in some regard, but I agree with you. It's going to be a team effort, so we'll see what happens as we get closer and closer to the draft. It feels like the more and more we've gotten through college football, at least for me, it feels like the NFL draft, there was a lot of interesting talking points for me regarding that draft. And now, you see, we're still waiting to see who's in and who's out. But it feels like now the NBA draft is more or less becoming more interesting now than the NFL draft. But we'll see what happens. NFL draft could shake up. It's not going to be a quarterback heavy draft, which I think does help bring in a lot of interest, but we will see what happens with the NFL draft when we get closer to that. Both drafts, though, are going to be interesting for sure. I'm going to pull up the NBA standings, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I want to pull up some reports as well. The first thing I will ask you guys, though, to kick off this NBA conversation regarding the actual season itself is the New York Knicks. The Knicks are struggling. They're not playing that well. And there's been some talk about a Karl Anthony Towns trade of the sorts. What are your thoughts on the Knicks? We've talked about this a little bit, right? I've openly said on the show that this is the Knicks' season to lose. I get it. Detroit's first, and I'm not saying Detroit is not a contender. That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, I mean, at this point, when you're New York, that championship window is closing quicker than you ever expected, because I think Tatum's going to be back for the playoffs, and then you got to deal with Boston all over again. Before, when you thought you wouldn't even have to, because you didn't think Boston was even going to be doing this good. So my question to you is there anything New York can do to get out of this struggle? Is trading Cat even the right move? And who do you trade him for? What do you do when you're in New York? Because I feel like you're stuck. You're stuck. I mean, there's not really much I feel like you can do here, because what are you realistically going to get for Cat that is, I mean, who are you going to get back that's just as good as Cat right now at the deadline?
Well, for me, if it wasn't in New York, it wouldn't be talking about him getting traded, right? But you talking about large market, impatience, and all that stuff. There's a lot of talk about him always fouling, and he's, and all these memes and making fun, which is ridiculous. I would love to have Karl Anthony Towns on my team. Absolutely 100%. But the challenge is, in today's society, it's not just about basketball. They want to talk about other things. I would say, for me, you need to call Memphis. Mr. Jackson over there is not happy. Ja's out for the next 3 weeks. He's a defensive player. He's a defensive presence. Their salaries are very similar. Now, remind you, Jackson's got he's got the Supermax kicker kicks in next year because of the Defensive Player of the Year award from last year. So he's got that kicker. And Karl Anthony Towns is at 58, 62, and 65 or something like that. Very similar. Those things could work, right? Because what do they say in New York? Towns is not a defensive presence. He doesn't play defense. He fouls too much. Mr. Jackson doesn't. So that may be something. He doesn't score as well as Cat. But you've got all those players on the team where you've got, big body Brunson, as they love to call him. That would be maybe even better suited for him, right? Him, you talking about OG has an opportunity to expand, right? His play. Then also you've got who's the other guy from Villanova on their Villanova group. That they had what's his name? Bridges. So maybe less can be more, right? You trade a guy. Oh man, why would we trade Cat? He's 25 and 12. Yeah, but they need to stop some folks, right? And maybe he and Jackson, that swap out could help both franchises. It would take the heat off of Karl Anthony Towns, because he's been in the forefront and in front of everything. Him going down to Memphis, a little bit of pressure off of him, and maybe he can, grow within that team and work things out. So for me, the only team that has a realistic opportunity that I think, unless you get another third team involved, would be Memphis with Darren Jackson.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what New York would particularly do. I think when you're New York, I don't know if there's a move you can make at this point in time, other than what you just said, Jaren Jackson Jr. How open is Memphis to moving him, right? Because if I'm Memphis, I'm moving John. I'm going to try to build this team around Jaren Jackson Jr. and get him a better star that probably fits more of him. But to your point, Jaren may want out as well. So we really don't know what's going on in that situation. Ramon, your thoughts on the Knicks?
I think God hit it on the head, hit the nail right on the head. It's New York, and that's the reason we're talking about it. And probably the only reason. You have 8 teams, right? Yeah. 8 teams, and we're not counting the play-in team. So 8 teams. But if you do count the play-in teams, 10. But let's just count that 8. All right. Out of that 8, the New York is still number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 of the teams out of that 8 have losing records in the last 10 games. 2 other ones have 500. So it's not like they're moving away from each other.
Mm-mm.
But we're highly concerned about this New York team, who's number 3, and who's keeping pace with everyone else who's a game behind Boston. And Boston is 5-5 in the last 10, and they're 4-6.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the words of D. Cott, this is a big nothing burger.
Okay. And all right. I mean, I like it. Yeah.
But we got a week to go, right? We got a little over a week to go, and we'll find out. But yeah, man, there's a lot of hype involved in these conversations that we've talked about enough. So it's just talk, man. We got to feel that they got to fill the airways with something, right? And I just think that's a part of it. The team has to grow and grow and develop. Coach Brown is a good coach, man. He's a good dude.
Yes.
And give him time. They're 45 games in. They came from a group that was playing 7 players only. They were so dependent on Cat and Big Body Brunson to carry the whole scoring load. And now he's saying, let's spread this out. Sometimes the best move is the move you don't make, man.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still of the belief it's New York's East to win. If they're going to win, if there's any year they're going to get to the finals, it's right now. You're not going to get there next year for sure. And even this year, I mean, it's looking, like I just said, it's looking bleak at this point, right? Cleveland's starting to find their way back. I mean, they're 27-20. I'm still very high on Toronto for the most part. Boston, credit to Daryl, Batman, as he's been calling him, Jaylen Brown, and has the team in second place. And quote unquote, Robin is coming back. I think Tatum will be back for the playoffs at this point now that you're in this position. And Detroit's top of the class, 32-11. They're looking strong. They look like the best team in basketball right now, in my opinion, other than the Spurs. So I think for New York, you're in a tight situation here. If the playoffs started today, you have to play a Philadelphia team that has surprised a lot of people. They got 2 guards that can go get it. Like I said, and I proposed this to Daryl a couple weeks ago, if I'm Philadelphia, tread with Embiid lightly. Make sure he doesn't play that much, get him to the playoffs, and then I get it, he can't play back-to-back games, so you better use him sparsely. Nick Nurse is a championship-winning head coach. I think he'll make it work regardless of whether they have Embiid or not. If they play New York, or if they play Philadelphia, Orlando, or Cleveland in the first round, that is at minimum a 5-game series. It's not going to be a sweep. A worst-case scenario for New York, you're playing 7 games against Philly, Orlando, or Cleveland, right? Because all 3 of those teams have depth. They're tough. Philadelphia is not as deep as the other 2, but regardless, you're looking at a 6-game series when you got to play either of those 3 teams. Obviously, if you play Miami or Chicago, you probably can sweep them. Miami may be tougher, but looking at Philly, Orlando, and Cleveland, you got to play any of those guys in the first round. That's going to be tough. And imagine you got to play Toronto and they fall to 6. Obviously, Toronto's got the lack of they have least playoff experience as the other teams, but Toronto's looked good all year. I'm not going to sit here and think there's some type of slouches just because we don't like the player personnel. They're there for a reason.
Hey, you know what? I watched that Philly game with the Knicks yesterday as well too, right? What I noticed what they do with Embiid is he doesn't run the full court anymore. He on offense, he gets to that 3-point line or that top of the key elbow. That's it. That's his neighborhood. Then on defense, he's switching off on everything. They're trying to get him out of the high screen as much as possible. They're trying to give less wear and tear on Embiid. If you notice that, I made a post yesterday. I'm touching this 7-foot, 280-pound guy at the 3-point line hovering. But as I watched the game, I'm like, that's by design, man. That's by design, because think that all that weight and all the leg issues he's had, right?
It's smart.
And what I'm seeing is, that's my point.
Yeah,
and he's not. He's there. Okay, well, we need a guy to create a foul, not a bucket. That's when they get the ball to him, right? He scored, I want to say 32. He was 32, 10, and 12 yesterday. I think he got a triple-double, right? It didn't look like it was because clunky, because he falls on the floor all the time and acts like someone tore his knee out the socket every time he's touched. But I think Nick Nurse, the championship-winning coach you just said,
yes,
it's got some special sauce going on there. Because I said in the beginning of the year, hey man, get rid of this dude for a bag of soup and some chicken wings, right?
Me and you both.
I said, but no one's going to take that salary. Still, no one's going to take that salary, by the way.
No.
But the way they're playing it, because he's got, Maxey, or the fastest guard in the league. Paul George doesn't need to give you 35 minutes. Give him a good night, 25 minutes. Okay. And then you've got the rookie in there who's really coming along, Edgecombe, who's definitely making life a lot easier for Maxey. So maybe, just maybe, and I'm not a Philly fan, but you got to call it like it is.
Yeah.
Man, looking at them yesterday and how they beat the Knicks, I think their special sauce is getting Embiid to the top of the top
Top
key,
of the key.
to the top of the key.
Yeah.
Think about that. And every time they try to get him in the high screen, whoever was being screened, they came and ran and bailed him out quickly. It was he was never left on an island.
Now that's going to get
Nurse, man.
That's going to get exploited quickly in the playoffs, I feel, but we'll see how they adjust to it. Ramon, I want your thoughts on Philadelphia a little bit, because I'll sit here and say it. I didn't expect Philly to be in this position at all. But that's props to them getting bailed out with the play of VJ Edgecombe, stepping in there and being the second guy that they need him to be. Your thoughts on Philadelphia, and if you want, take the conversation somewhere else if there's another team in the East you want to talk about.
No, I think some time ago when we were talking about players, there was a kid on Philadelphia that I really, really liked, if you guys remember. You guys remember, right?
Was it Edgecombe? I'm asking. I seriously don't remember. I'm sorry.
Well, we can
tell you Paul George.
Man, I'm about to log off, man. I'm about to log off. No, but when we talk about Philadelphia, my concerns are with Embiid, always health, how he plays, what he's going to be asked to do in crunch time. Can he consistently deliver? But you guys know that I'm a huge Maxey fan. If y'all remember when we started listing people, like
you talking about me? You talking about me being a Maxey guy?
No, me. I was. Now I was a fan.
I remember y'all laughing at me though.
No, because you had him at like number 1 or 2 or something.
Yeah, I didn't have him right behind.
I didn't have him that high. I didn't have him that high, but I had him very high. He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude. Yeah. So I think that with him and with the rest of the supporting cast, and I think that Philadelphia is always going to be in the mix. Do I think that they could? Is the question? Do I think they really can compete? Are they really contenders? No, not at all. But they can cause people problems.
Yes.
Whether it's taking them the distance and wearing them down, whether it's one series popping somebody that we don't think they can pop, but they're not going to continuously make a run and be a true contender. I don't know if I don't know how you position Embiid now.
Yeah.
Is he? Does he not know, or is he willing to say, "Hey, I'm not going to be the man for other reasons outside of my skill set," and we move from there. And I think that if he finds that out, if they figure that out, if whoever figures it out, then the team that has him becomes a better team.
Yeah.
But until that's figured out, I don't think that no team with him can make that move to that contender circle.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I give credit to Nick Nurse. He's doing what he can to keep Embiid out of situations where he could get hurt, playing him here and there. I think they're doing the right thing. But yeah, come playoff time, you can't keep him out of these high screen situations forever because,
Exactly.
You play a team like Indiana, they're going to start licking their chops like it's Brooke Lopez. Daryl, you're muted, by the way. But no, I agree with you.
No, I was agreeing with you. I was like, they're fighting. They are fighting hard, man, to keep him out of that. And yesterday was just, it was so apparent, right? They got a concerted effort. Do not allow him on an island.
No.
You could just tell it, right? You could just tell it. But you're right. Playoffs gonna be fun because when you go from playing 10 guys down to 8, intensity, a little bit more physicality. Yeah.
And teams that are good enough skill-wise, physically, and schematically to make sure that you can't hide him.
Yeah. But man, Nick Nurse, I mean, Nick Nurse is a really good head coach. I can't rank NBA coaches like I can NFL, because I think NBA there's a lot of really good coaches in the league, but I would say Nurse is probably in that top 10 range for me. So Nurse is a really good coach, and I think when we get to the playoffs, I think he'll find out a way to get it done. They've got a decent backup center too, who's played well for them as well. I can't remember his name, but he's done pretty good for them as well. Daryl knows who I'm talking about.
The African guy, right?
Yeah. He's
number 30.
He's fairly athletic too.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not bad I think he can do well. Now when we get to the playoffs, he may get exposed. We'll see. When I look at the East and I look at teams that, obviously Philly's probably not a contender, but even at this point, I don't know how much I think Cleveland's window as well is another team where I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, it feels like their window has closed as well a little bit. When it comes to maybe they need to make a move at the deadline, they're trending upwards. The rumors about Garland or Allen being moved have kind of faded away up until this point. But we'll see what Cleveland does in the playoffs. I know Daryl's not as high on Toronto as I am. I think out of all these teams, Daryl's probably like, Toronto's probably the biggest fraud. I'll put that in, air quotes, fraud out of the top 5 teams in the East right now.
I wouldn't say necessarily fraud. I just think ranking them, from what I've seen in Philly coming along over the last month, I would put them right there neck and neck with the Clippers, but I would probably bring Toronto down a slot. I said Clippers. I mean Cavaliers. Okay. I would bring them up, but this top 6, I think is the top 6. I think it is the top 6, but I do believe that the Pistons and the Celtics are the class of the East, though. I don't think the other teams have a chance against those other teams.
Yeah.
In a 7-game series.
Yeah, I think you got a good point. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Boston. I really didn't think, I didn't think they'd be here. I thought they'd be around maybe 5th, maybe 6th. At this point,
what happens, man, when your best player has an opportunity to make room and play, and he can make those plays, right? I know.
You know what? I can't even. I'm not even going to sit here and argue. You're not wrong.
It's a real crush, man. Hey, I got a crush on him too, man. Because all he does is go out there and ball. And you know what he also did last week?
What did he do?
He got in. He got in old Beef Stew's face. He and my man in Detroit.
Who's Beef Stew?
Come on, Stewart. Yeah, that's his nickname, Beef Stew.
Okay.
And he got in. They got in the beginning of the game. They both got texts. I think in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't back down. And Jaylen Brown's not a big dude, man. Stewart's a big, strong dude.
Okay,
big, strong.
I want to see what Jaylen Brown does in the playoffs by himself.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Tatum's going to be back by then. I mean, Tatum's going to be back by playoffs.
If Tatum plays major minutes in the playoffs, then they're going to lose.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you may be right at this point. I don't know.
The way they're playing, if you look at their record now versus last year, I think they're 2 games behind last year. Something like that. So I like what they're doing. Pritchard has stepped up, played a more significant play. The first month and a half, Pritchard stunk. He's picked up his pace, right? All these guys have gotten better over the season, man. I like what Boston's doing. I don't like them to win, but I like the fact that they've overachieved based off of what people said the doom and gloom was in the Eastern Conference playoffs last year.
Is there any other team you guys want to hit before we shift over to the West? Is there anyone else you want to talk about? Real quick, before I say anything, highly disappointed in the Orlando Magic. I wish Paolo Banchero would stop I wish he would stop trying to be Kevin Durant. I wish he would just drive in, stop shooting the ball in general. Go watch the Bonza a little bit. Stop shooting the ball. Please stop shooting the ball. You've got guys that can shoot the ball. Stop shooting the ball. Drive in, go to the line, get fouled, or dunk it. Do what you were doing in college. Essentially, it's frustrating to watch because once again, I think Orlando is going to give somebody fits in the first round and fall short. And then when you're Orlando, you traded for T-Rex arms, and it may result in nothing at this point. If you can't get
you
out of
loved
the
that
first round.
move earlier. Hey, you love that move.
I didn't love it at first, and I was like, you know what, it's growing on me, but it's unfortunate because we had conversations of
T-Rex.
We had conversations of Detroit and Orlando both being at the top of the East this year. One's doing their job, the other one is lingering in 7th, ready to play in the play-in again. And look who's also in the play-in. It's the big three of the play-in: Miami, Chicago, and Atlanta. Once again, the big three of the play-in. Freaking ridiculous, man. Freaking ridiculous. We're going to move over to the Western Conference, and I've got a report already pulled up that we're going to go over. We've talked about it. The other crisis that I've talked about in the NBA is the Minnesota Timberwolves and their need for a point guard. Well, we've got a report on what Minnesota is thinking. For Minnesota fans, how does Kobe White or Ayo, I can't say his name, but I know him very well. He's not bad. They're looking for a point guard, obviously. Obviously, Kobe White's probably the best one there. DeSomu's really good as well. But we'll see what Minnesota does, right? I was talking about it last week with Ramon about a John Morant trade for Minnesota, but I'd rather have Kobe White or I can't say his last name, but I'd rather have either of these two guys rather than Ja. And the price is probably, honestly, their price tag's probably higher than Ja's at this right now.
Yeah, it is actually. Kobe White,
trade value.
Yeah, well, but you got to realize though, trade value is one thing, but also you got to think about where's that guy's salary that upcoming years, right? I think if I remember right, Kobe White is eligible for a increase in a max deal, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up now. I just keep on going. I'm looking up and see what his contract is. I think that's a big deal too.
I've always been a fan of Kobe White. I'm glad he's kind of found his spot in the NBA as a point guard. He was struggling there for a little bit, but he's really found his rhythm. I like what the Bulls are trying to build. Hopefully they can continue to build, but if White doesn't fit that picture, that's fine. I would like White in Minnesota because, like I've already said multiple times, Minnesota just needs a point guard. They've been to the Western Conference Finals back-to-back times. I mean, you look at the West right now, they're it says they're in 7th. They could be as high as 4th if they can just win some games and other teams lose. We've talked about Ant at length on this show, and I'm still of the belief that Anthony Edwards is one of the top 5, not top 5, but maybe 6. He's in a arguable spot to be a top 5 player in this league. But there's not a question in my mind. There's not a question in my mind that Ant is a first option, that he can get you to an NBA Finals. He's put you on the doorstep of an NBA Finals. I think he is. Anthony Edwards reminds me right now of Mark Martin in NASCAR. He is one of the greatest of all times, playing the greatest of all time right now. He's lost to Shea. He's lost to Luka. Guys that I think have just been better than him flat out in the last couple of years. Now, I would say Ant may be better than Luka right now, or they're about at the same point. Obviously, Shea is probably better than Ant by a little bit. But I think Ant, and Daryl, you can attest to this, his 3-point shooting in the playoffs has gotten better year over year. He is becoming a better shooter. He's becoming an all-around better player at this point in time. He's only getting better, I think, year over year. And as we've talked about before, I mean, he is so young, and he's already got 2 Western Conference Finals appearances under his belt. So I think when I look at Minnesota, if you can get a guy like Kobe White next to him, someone that isn't as controversial as John Morant, like me and Ramon were talking about last week when I brought this up, I think this would be a good fit. And I think for Anthony Edwards, you get to the playoffs. Coach Finch is everyone's saving grace since he ripped the Thunder a new one and made the refs call it fair for everyone now. The Timberwolves are the fan favorites heading into the playoffs in my eyes. And I really do think, when I look at the West, I've got the Spurs at 1. I've got the Thunder at 2, the Nuggets at 3, and I still have the Minnesota Timberwolves at 4. If they get a point guard, I'm willing to say they're third, maybe even second.
Going back to Kobe White, the problem for Minnesota is Kobe White's in a walk year. He's owed $12 million this year. He's not signed beyond next season. and also they couldn't extend him a qualifying offer either. So he's fresh meat come the summertime. So whoever trades for him is going to be required, if they want to keep him, to max him out. I don't know that Minnesota has that type of a cap move. Kobe White's he's going to require max money.
So you
about
probably
35
have to look
to 40 million a year.
You probably have to look at DeSomu, who, I think he's been the backup point guard for them. He's not a bad player. It's obviously he's not as good as Kobe White, but
he's in a walk here as well too. He's at 7.
Really? So what about Trey? Trey Jones is listed here too.
Trey Jones. Well, he's got 2 more years after this one at $8 million apiece. That may be your best bet because he's locked in, and $8 million to regular people like us is crazy money. But for NBA money, $8 million,
that's not much.
That's a steal. That's your guy. Because those guys, you look at the picture, it ain't happening unless you realize you're going to have to make a move, Minnesota, in the summertime, because you've got 3 guys at max money. You got Rudy, you got Ant, and you got
Randall.
Randall. Well, also, and you got the corner shooter, my guy,
Nasri.
Yeah. So that doesn't play well for Minnesota.
Ramon, your thoughts on Minnesota and their point guard debacle? We talked about Shaw last week a little bit.
Yeah. I agree. I was looking up some different things.
No, you're all good.
Trying to was looking up some information about the things that you guys were talking about with the multiple different point guards. I mean, I don't know if they can go wrong either way. But I know they definitely can't go with the guy that we discussed last week.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to boil down to present value, future money. That's the biggest thing. Like, what is it going to cost us to get this person? What's it going to cost us to keep this person?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the whole, to that point. That's why the dynasty talk, I think, is premature, because guys' salaries start coming in there. Things are going to start mattering. Guys, I want this playing time. I don't want to be here because I don't want to be the second fiddle. I think that's a big piece of what's going on here. And from that perspective, I just think that this summer, this trade deadline in this summer are going to be probably as busy as they've been in years, because the way the salaries have gone up and the landscape looks. To your point, Isaiah, with the Washington Wizards and the New Jersey Nets and the Atlanta Hawks, teams. These players got to go somewhere to get that money, because they're not going to be 4 or 5 guys on the same team making $40 million a year and still having to round out your roster of 10 more guys.
Yeah, and the super team stuff is a dead thing in this NBA, at least. This new, it's not a new era, but this new CBA and stuff like that. There's a super team. You got to have depth at the end of the day. What does a point guard do for Minnesota in your guys' eyes? Like, when you look at the West, how much does that help them? Like I've said, I think people seem to forget Minnesota's been in back-to-back Western Conference Finals. And it's about getting past that doorstep. I get it, but Ant is still very young, right? And I think he's shown you he can get you there. It's really just, like I just said, I think he's one of the greats that is playing against probably the best player at that time, which, 2 years ago it was Luka, right? They got to the finals. Last year it was Shea. So right now, what does a point guard do for Minnesota? Is it just back to the Western Conference Finals, which I think is still a very good possibility for them? Or is it an NBA Finals appearance, which I don't think it is? Because right now, like I said in the summer, and then I changed it once I saw Wemby put 40 up in the opener night, Spurs are coming out of the West if everything goes according to plan.
If you're a point guard, and I'll be really brief. If you're a point guard and you're playing with Ant, you have to be a guy who can play off the ball sometime.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna have the ball in his hands. If you can't play off the ball, if you're a ball dominant point guard, if you're a point guard who needs the ball in his hand, it ain't gonna work. It may go backwards.
Yeah.
So you gonna have to play. If you can find a point guard who can play off the ball sometime, he's gonna have the ball in his hands. I mean, that could be special, that type of tandem. And you can score, and you're efficient with your scoring, because he's going to have the ball a lot, especially in crunch time. You're very efficient. man, you could shock some people.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that, but for me, I still say the top 4 teams are still better than Minnesota, regardless if they get a point guard or not. I still think those top 4 teams, and I understand. I see Phoenix and I see the Lakers. I'm not talking about them 2 teams. 1 through 4 are better than the Timberwolves, point guard or not. I just believe that. I'm not trying to knock Minnesota. I just they've had a nice 2-year stretch run. Things fell in their place. They got the Lakers 2 different times at the right time. Once. I'm sorry, once. So they had the Lakers. Was it last year? Yeah,
it was last year.
The
year before where they played Dallas, they had to get through Denver, I think, to get to the Western Conference.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and they knocked off Denver.
But for me, I just they've had a nice run. They have no knock or anything like that. I don't think that they're come May will be better than those first 4 teams, point guard or not, because I don't think they're going to be able to get the type of point guard that's going to be that type of a difference maker. That's
and I think that's a
if Kobe White came.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I just shared with you the contract situation. Now, I think they're better than the Rockets, and I think they go toe to toe with the Nuggets, right?
Yeah.
But they've got to get a dynamic. Listen,
they've got to get a good point guard.
Getting a top 40 point guard in the league isn't what you're looking for. You need a difference making guy.
You need somebody in that top 30, maybe even 25.
Well, the challenge would be is Naz Reid or our guy, the forward from the Knicks,
Randall. You got to trade Reid.
One of those guys is going to have to go. One of those guys is going to have to go. Now,
and I'm sorry, it's probably got to be Naz Reid. I think it's got to be Reid. But I see if it's Randall, I think either of them are fine.
Naz Reid's more a spot up guy. That's the thing. If I'm Minnesota, I'd rather give up Naz Reid than Randall because Randall's more versatile.
Right? Yeah, I'd rather give up Reid.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, people are crapping on Randall. Randall's played good in Minnesota and in the playoffs, which has been his biggest outlier.
When he was in New York, there was a lot of talk about him being selfish and how much better they played when he was out.
Yeah.
The 2 years ago series against the Pacers, right? See how much better they played without him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Remember, that's coming from the largest market, right? New York City, right? So I like what Randall's career has kind of turned into. He was a post player only in Kentucky.
No,
he was in the paint guy, and this guy's game has evolved, man. He's a respectable 3-point shooter. He can put the ball on the deck, and when he's motivated, he plays a little bit of defense as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm still very high on Minnesota. A part of me,
I give you credit. You've been consistent, man. You've been on Minnesota since this pod started. And you stayed the same with Ant. So give you credit. You're being consistent.
And even though they thumped my Lakers, I mean, I didn't think it. I didn't see it as a surprise. I mean, I really do believe Ant is that good, and he's shown it year over year. He's gotten better. I think Houston. I don't think Houston's far off, Daryl, but there is a part of me that is still a little a little bit held back on Houston still. Maybe it's because I want to see them in the playoffs first, with this team in the playoffs, and then I can get a feel for what they really are. I think in the regular season, I watched them against the Spurs. I've seen them in a couple games as well. I think Ramon made a good point when he said he watched the Lakers and the Mavericks last night, and it just seems times like these games are lackadaisical. I mean, there was a game this year on Amazon where they played the Spurs. I mean, they were going for it. I mean, it was a really good game. I think Houston can compete with anyone. It's just a matter of can they win those tight ones? Because in the end, they did lose to the Spurs. So for me, can Houston win those tight games? Like in the opener, they lost to Oklahoma City. The trend for me when watching Houston is, man, they can go shot for shot with anyone because they've got the guys. But it just seems like when it's tight and it's time to close the door, it just seems that they can't seem to close the door. So that's probably my one thing. Maybe I'm just catching Houston on the wrong nights because I know that they can beat teams. I'm not saying they can't, but when the games are tight, most of the time when I watch them, it seems like they can't seem to close the door on people is kind of my biggest thing with Houston. And it's been against the Spurs and the Thunder. They beat the Pistons a while back and it wasn't fairly close.
A couple of nights ago. Couple
But that's
nights
not
ago,
the East. That's the East, not the West. And to get to play the team in the East, you got to
listen.
out the West.
Don't disregard Detroit though, man. I mean, you saying that the East,
No.
the East stepchild. Detroit's probably a top 3 team in the league.
Yes,
Period.
I'm just saying when to get to play Detroit in the finals, well, you got to get through the West. And the games where I've watched them play the Thunder, the Nuggets, all them, they can't seem to close the door on them. And 7-game series, 1 game in November doesn't change much.
I mean, those teams are good teams as well too, and they've got star players over there. Things got to happen right for you, right?
Yeah.
And during the regular season, as they talked about all the time, the urgency isn't there for any of these teams like it will be come May, right?
Unless you're 7, 8, and 9, probably.
Yeah, which is possible. Yeah, but no, it's yeah. But again, to that point, West Rise, I think the West looks clean. But one team's going to come out of the West, and one team's going to come out of the East.
I'll ask you guys, Ramon. I'll let you go first. Who's your favorite right now in the West?
The Lakers.
Thanks, appreciate it. I know you're lying. So who? Now your real opinion. I know you're a semi-Laker fan, so I appreciate it. But who's your real pick? Because they're not even my pick.
The Thunder.
Really?
I love the way they play team defense.
Or team tackle defense.
Yeah.
Hey, tomato. I love the way they play
I would agree,
defense.
though. I would agree. I still say the Thunder out of the West. I mean, now, mind you, I put a nice little future bet on the Spurs.
Yeah.
But right now, I would still say the Thunder. The mess about them winning 74 games is over with. I think that's going to be good for them. There's no more talk about that. They're not healthy, by the way. Williams hasn't been playing.
Even
The
when
other
he
guy
has, Chet?
if he's been playing terribly. Because I haven't seen much of him, and I just think when the Pacers beat him the other night, that was a good Shea game, but what it did, it just kind of exhibited how much they need Shea, and if he's not falling on the floor, man, and dipping his shoulder in and falling, man, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle this year. But they've got enough depth, I think, to win though. Still,
like I said, when the calls are even on both sides. And the Thunder aren't getting this many free throws, and the other team's only getting this many free throws, and we're calling things the same way, Thunder seem to slip a little bit. So, Ramon, since you picked the Thunder to come out of the West, telling you right now, man, if things look the way they're looking, and Wemby continues to stay healthy, Stephon Castle continues to stay healthy, if the Spurs are healthy come playoff time, I'm saying it loud and proud, and I said it in the offseason when Daryl thought I was smoking or doing drugs. The San Antonio Spurs will come out of the Western Conference. I only said Western Conference Finals in the offseason, but after Wemby dropped 40, then they continue to beat the Thunder night in and night out. I'm setting it straight right now. The San Antonio Spurs will come out of the West, and if please, I hope we get a Wemby and Jokic 7-game series. I will be seated on the couch for every single game that is going. We talk about the NBA and the product as a whole, but if we get to watch 7 games of the best center in the league versus the upcoming best player in the league, man, I mean, I don't even want to see nobody else shoot the ball. I just want to. Denver brings it down the court, they throw it down to Jokic. San Antonio brings it down the court, they throw it down to Wemby. I want to see Hakeem versus David Robinson. I want to see Shaq versus David Robinson. I just want to see 2 of the best centers in the league, arguably the top 2 centers in the league. I just want to watch them play ISO ball for the whole game.
There's one little problem with that. Those names you just mentioned, those guys were centers. They didn't shoot threes. This isn't one of those type of matchups. It won't be that in the post, head fake, pump fake. It won't be that, right? You talking about 2 guys who's going to be the best 3-point shooter.
It's going to be so fun to watch, though, if we get those 2 guys in a 7-game
Okay, so
series.
with that said, San Antonio wins the West. Are you saying they're going to win it all then, right? Because, the East is inferior, as we've all said, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're going to – yeah, if they get to the finals, I'll take them to win the West. I'll take them to win the whole thing for sure.
You know what was funny?
Everything stays equal. I might take Detroit Pistons, man.
There you go. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I would love a Detroit San Antonio finals. That would be such a good fun
We've had one of those before.
Yeah.
I got Detroit Thunder.
What do you say, Ramon?
I got Detroit Thunder.
Detroit. Okay.
Detroit and the Thunder. That's my group. That's my fight.
Yeah, I would like them as well.
You know what's funny, Isaiah? You picked the Spurs, but you said if about 3 times. If this happened, if that happened.
I get it. Look. I'm just saying.
You gotta get your wiggle room, man. Come on.
All I'm saying is Wemby is 7 foot, whatever. Anything could happen to that guy at 7 feet tall. He could twist an ankle. He could. Hell, he got taken out last year because of blood clots, right? I mean, I'm just saying. You never know.
6'4" people get hurt too.
I get it. He's 7 feet tall. He goes up for an alley-oop. Ankle goes west instead of facing north. Anything could happen. I'm just trying to make sure that the future of the league is intact. We talk about giving all these special calls to Shea. What they need to do is make sure their 7 foot cash cow doesn't.
We don't talk about it. You talk about giving all these special calls to Shea.
Because I'm in tuned, right? I'm in tuned with the league. Look, I got my marker. I'm holding the highlighter a certain way. Like. Look, NBA, we need to give these special calls to Wemby, right? This is what everybody needs. This is your special attraction. This is Andre the Giant that you've got right here, right? You need to make sure he's well protected.
Man, did nobody care about Andre the Giant in the WWF, man?
Hold up now. You don't knock Andre the Giant, the Frenchman. Now we don't do that around here.
That special attraction.
Man, he wasn't Randy Macho Man Savage, man.
That's a good point.
Hey, listen, Randy Macho Man Savage was terribly afraid of Andre the Giant. It's chronicled in many stories about how he punked Macho Man week after week, month after month. Because Macho Man had a lot of. Here's the deal: Macho Man used to have a lot of baby oil, right? And there's a story about Andre playing cards in the locker room. Yes. And it's absolutely true. Macho came to and said, "What are we going to do for the night? Leave me alone. No baby oil." Dude came to the ring, dry as a powder house. So I'm just telling you, do not mess with Andre the Giant. I could go on about Andre the Giant.
I know you guys are excited to talk about it. You guys love to bring it up. So let's go ahead and let's bring it up. Here we go. Everybody's favorite segment. Daryl was waiting for me to bring it up so he can clown on me about it. Ramon's probably going to leave the call. No, I knew it was going to happen if I skipped over it.
Nothing.
If I skipped over it, you guys are going to be like, well, what about
this? This could be a farce. This could be a farce. I think this is a sham.
Daryl would have been like,
well,
we're not going to talk about the Lakers?
I think this is a sham. I think it's BS. I think it's publicity. I think that LeBron and his agent are doing all these things to create a type of a buzz around things. Your agent doesn't say, "Oh, trade, AR-15," if you and your top guy haven't discussed it. I think this is. We talk about wrestling. This is WWE. It's a farce. It's an absolute farce. I don't believe it. I don't believe that Jenny Buss is mad at LeBron in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a farce. No, it's a ruse. Nope.
Ramon?
For me, it's a nothing burger.
There you go. Ramon?
I don't give a damn.
All right, cool. Beautiful.
See?
We got Eli in the chat.
Eli in the house.
LeBron flop in LA, and then 2020 bubble doesn't count.
Sorry. Ooh. But no, man.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. I mean, I disagree with Eli, but I don't disagree with Ramon. I don't care.
I think it's a ruse, man.
I do too.
Man, there's a bunch of people sitting back thinking, "Oh my gosh, we're losing relevance. What can we do?" Yep. Let's create the WWF. I'm going to hit you with a chair. It's not really going to hurt, but it's going to look good.
Well, the chair. I heard the chairs do hurt, Ramon.
They do hurt. There's pain points to them.
Come on,
man. This is all fake, man.
Now,
before talking about this, I would rather talk about roller derby.
Yeah.
Back in the day, roller derby was a big thing. Now,
I know.
Now, the one thing I will say, and then I'm going to pull back up the standings and take this off the screen. The one thing that I will say is that, yes, it is LeBron's fault about the Westbrook trade. I still hate that we did the Westbrook trade. I never wanted Westbrook on this team. They blew up the roster for no reason when the Lakers had to play 83 days after winning the championship. That does count, because if anybody else would have won it, it would have counted. But that's a whole nother discussion. So that's my only opinion. That's my only thing that I found interesting in the article is it would make sense if nobody took blame for that Westbrook trade, because it's a failure on both sides, because the trade shouldn't have happened in the first place. You depleted your whole bench for a washed up Russell Westbrook. So that's my only thing with that. We can move on. Where else do you guys want to hit on when it comes to the standings?
I think we hit a lot of good stuff for NBA. Our D-Day is going to be February 5th. We can see what the roster settle in at, and we can go from there.
Yeah. Ramon, any final thoughts on the standings in the East or West?
Nope.
All right. Eli, I disagree. I think the bubble title counts for the most part. I'm not saying that just as a Laker fan. My argument is if anybody else would have won it, it would be as real as possible. But because a certain player won it and a certain team won it, everybody likes to say that it doesn't count. I mean, Skip Bayless is on record saying, since they didn't play the Clippers that year, it doesn't count. So I don't know. Everybody's got their different opinion on it.
Know what? The show is winding down when we have a Skip Bayless reference. We are definitely winding down. Why the hell will we bring up Skip Bayless in any conversation in any way, shape, or form?
Speaking of mediocre people, Mike McCarthy has been hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple days ago, or was that yesterday? I don't remember. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago? Yesterday. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Mike McCarthy heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ramon sent it in the group chat. He asked what we thought. Ramon thinks it's a good hire. I think.
No, I didn't say that, man.
Sorry.
That was me. That was me.
Daryl said it was a good hire. I said it was mediocre. I agree with Eli. I think it's a bad hire for the most part. I think it's mediocre. I do agree with Eli here, and I agree with Daryl on this part. I think it is just a ploy to get Aaron Rodgers back, and I think it's just Pittsburgh going down the street and finding a head coach and not taking their head coaching search seriously.
Man, it feels like if you didn't like Mike Tomlin, if you didn't like Mike T, the present day Mike T, not back in the day, but what he's doing the last 4 or 5 years, right? It just, to me, you let Mike T step down, however you want to phrase it, and you hire the white Mike T.
Yeah. Because he can do the same thing as Mike Tomlin.
Here's my issue. Here's my issue, right? We had an episode.
I say that, I'm not saying anything is racial or racist. So don't nobody misconstrue that. I'm saying they are the same people, just a different package, a different covering.
We had an episode on this platform when the people in Pittsburgh were booing Mike T so much, and they were saying fire Mike T. We had an episode. I think if I remember right, Isaiah, we got about 800 views on that thing, right? And the fire Mike Tomlin, fire everybody. I remember even my boy Brandon Reef the beginning of last year. Hey, this mediocrity, right? You got to be careful what you wish for, because all those people that were clowning Mike T with the last 2 years of Mike T and mediocrity. Because remember when the celebration was he hasn't had a losing season. The rebuttal was, but he's only won one Super Bowl. That was in his, I think, first year. And since then, he's been just over 500, right? So what do you want? You wanted Mike T gone. They wanted him gone. The fans in the stadium, not on the media, in the stadium, you could hear it.
Yeah.
So now you got a guy who's won a Super Bowl, 12 playoff appearances in the last 15 years of coaching. He's the only tie-in that can absolutely secure Rodgers coming back. Where you're going to draft that, you're not going to get a first round. You're not going to get a quarterback that's going to come in and play. You don't have a first round, second round pick because you traded for your receiver to get that for your receiver who also punched the fan in Detroit. So with that said, you don't have a lot of options, Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't have a lot of options. Your draft picks haven't been great. You're not going to ride with the kid from Oklahoma State, Rand Rudolph. You're not going to ride with him. So you might as well do everything you can to get Rodgers back for one more year. But you know why? Because anything you get Pittsburgh Steelers, Rodgers is better right now. So pump your brakes on save Mike T now, because y'all wasn't saying that 8 weeks ago when y'all were booing him out of the stadium. Yeah. So this guy is a competent coach. I didn't say he's a superhero. I didn't say he's Vince Lombardi. He's a competent coach. And that's what they had the last few years, to Ramon's point, a competent coach.
Ramon likes
so my next question is this, right? He brings Rodgers back, right? They go 500 again. They still ain't going to get another quarterback. You're going to bring him back a third year?
Well, no, what I'm saying is this year they don't have
I'm posing that to you. I'm posing that to just he's not gonna. I don't think McCarthy's gonna elevate you to a championship or even close. I think he's gonna hover around the same way. So you're gonna make the playoffs, lose. So you're not gonna have a great draft choice. It's the same thing Mike T did. You're never gonna be able to get a quarterback.
But that's what I'm saying. Because this year they definitely can't, because they for DK Metcalf they gave up a second for they got their first, which is going to be the 21st or 22nd pick. You don't have enough capital to trade up. You don't have a second round pick.
Nope.
So you're strapped there. You got an old defensive team. You gave Watt way too much money for what he had done in the past, $40 million. Hayward's going to probably retire this summer. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are in an influx right now, right? Yeah. And the only thing that could save them when I say save them, I'm talking 9-8, 10-7 save, would be Rodgers, because Will Howard isn't your answer. Will Howard isn't your answer, and he won't be your answer. I'm just saying, if a Pittsburgh.
How do you know Will Howard isn't the answer, man?
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Ramon, you like to use the women analogy. So I will say this: if Mike Tomlin is an 8.5 or a 9, Mike McCarthy is like a 6, maybe even a 7. And he can give you the same thing as the 8 or 9 gave you, for the most part. Mike McCarthy can do the same thing that he did in Dallas, which was winning regular season games, getting to the playoffs, and then losing. Tomlin can do the same thing here, except instead of giving you 12 games, right? Like the 8.5 has the better looks and all that. The 7 has decent looks and can do the same things as the 8 and the 9, right? He can do the same thing in Pittsburgh. It's just not as pretty as 12 wins. It's a little less pretty. It's more cute or less. It's 10 wins, maybe even 9 wins. The fact of the matter is I don't think McCarthy is a long-term head coach. I think what Pittsburgh did is they sat down, they said, okay. Yeah. They said we don't have any picks. We're not going to be able to get a quarterback. Let's just hire McCarthy and he can be a placeholder. I think Pittsburgh sat down and said, we're going to hire a placeholding head coach, and we will weigh out our options maybe in the next 2 years when we have more of a game plan installed, because right now they are stuck. But for me, regardless of the fact it's a mediocre hire, it's a mediocre coach. You talk about McCarthy and Tomlin both, right? Cool. I mean, they can win you regular season games, but I mean, those Super Bowls are from a very, very long time ago. So for me, that was back when the quarterbacks couldn't even move out of the pocket most of the time. So for me, at this point, that's a whole different era in the NFL.
It wasn't that far back. I mean, it wasn't Dallas Cowboys far back. It wasn't that far back.
Either way, the quarterbacks.
It was 07, man. This is in 2007.
And Rodgers was and McCarthy's was 2011. I'm
just talking about from the Steelers' perspective as a whole when they last.
Well, yeah, and I'm just talking about both Tomlin and McCarthy both. I mean, their Super Bowls are now over. I mean, Tomlin's is almost 20 years old, and McCarthy's is a decade long.
Here's my pain point: if Mike T was all mediocre, what's the problem with getting another mediocre coach then? I'm not calling him. I'm not asking you. People are complaining. Oh, this is terrible. Y'all were complaining about mediocre before. What?
Yeah.
That's what you. Let's be frank here. The Steelers have been mediocre the last 12 years.
When I look at Steelers Nation,
hey, I'm not trading my average girlfriend for another average girlfriend, man.
When I look at what I think what Steelers fans wanted from what I've seen on social media is they wanted a young coordinator, a young mind to become the head coach. Pittsburgh has never hired a placeholder coach, but I feel like they may have this time. Yes, I agree, Coach Tomlin. Yeah. I think they wanted a young guy. Is the Pittsburgh fan base? I think they wanted someone young, and to what I just said, and Daryl agreed with me. I think they just went and got a placeholder because they don't have much capital to work with to bring in a young. They got
nothing.
You're stifling a young coach if you put him in this situation. Is basically the point.
They're gonna probably cut Watt. They're gonna probably cut Watt with that terrible contract they signed him to. The guy, the prior 3 years, Watt was a diminishing returns, and they signed him. Why? Because he's JJ's brother. He's Watt, and look how awesome he is. That was a mistake they made, and they're gonna pay for that. They're gonna pay for that big time, and that's the other thing why I think they felt like, hey, let's go ahead and get this guy, because there's less hope for the Steelers in this upcoming season than the prior past 5 years.
All right,
because of draft capital and being over in the cap.
Next up, to continue on with our NFL coach vacancies and all that, to round out the show, Phillip Rivers being interviewed by the Buffalo Bills. I find this very interesting. I find this a little dumb, to be quite frank. I don't really like this for the most part. It kind of gives me JJ Redick vibes for the most part. I'm curious what you guys think. Obviously, two different sports. Obviously, we all have our opinions of Redick on the show. Rivers is not the same guy as JJ Redick. I just don't know. Obviously he's played in the NFL, so I mean, I'm not saying he's not particularly qualified. But I'm curious what you guys think about this. And how realistic is this? Will it really happen?
I think he's a sharp guy, man. I think Rivers is a sharp guy. But I think it's awfully ironic. There's a lot of guys who've been coordinators for quite a few years. Byron Leftwich, they aren't even getting a look, and that's what's disappointing. Byron played, he's coached in multiple organizations, and he's not getting any love. What has Byron Leftwich done to dissuade people from coming to take a look at him? He's been in the fight, and I don't disrespect shot put thrower at all. But I just think that, what does this say from a guy who's been coaching high school, was out in the league, now he's skipping over the line to be looked at as a head coach. Now, granted, he was a quarterback, obviously, and you've got quote unquote Superman. He can help out a lot, but I don't know how much he can help out a lot, because I believe Superman is one of the most selfish players in the NFL. That play in Denver proved it. Yeah. Second quarter, less than 20 seconds to go. You're running around at the 30-yard line with the ball in one hand. What were you looking to do?
There's a part of me, Ramon, I'm going to let you get in on this here in a sec. There is a part of me that thinks that Buffalo really wanted Mike McDaniel. And I say this because the candidates that they've interviewed, other than that, because McDaniel pulled out of his interviews, it seems like he is going to stick with the Chargers or offensive coordinator job, which we'll talk about in a sec as well. It seems like maybe Buffalo was really set on maybe wanting McDaniel. So they interviewed Lou I don't know how to say his last name, but the Colts defensive coordinator. They interviewed him, and now they've interviewed Phillip Rivers. Two candidates that, to me, don't really interest me for the most part. Obviously, the Colts defensive coordinator is doing really good work in Indianapolis. I'd love to know what his head coaching record is for the most part. But it seems like Buffalo probably would have went with Mike McDaniel if he would have just done the interview, I think. But I don't know. I feel like with Buffalo, I think getting rid of McDermott was a bad move for them, to be honest. I think whoever they hire won't be able to really fill that void of McDermott for the most part. I think Buffalo arguably takes a step back, and now it's even worse now because New England's going to be a contender for the next couple of years. Ramon, I'll let you get in here, though, and give your thoughts.
I'm gonna jump on Buffalo first. Uh, they interviewed the coach, defensive coordinator, correct?
From the Colts,
Yeah.
yes, and then and then obviously Phillip Rivers.
And Phillip Rivers, correct?
Yeah.
It gives me, when I say it out loud, it makes me think that for some reason they want to try to get that offensive scheme that the Colts run and apply to their quarterback. Phillip Rivers was brought in because he was already familiar with the scheme and the terminology. If you can hire a defensive coordinator, maybe he can steal some people from the Colts who can implement that scheme and that terminology. So maybe I'm not saying this is true, but are they trying to simulate what the Colts do offensively with their quarterback and with their personnel? All right, that's one question that I would have. Far as my man Byron Leftwich, I'm curious about what people think of him, because like he went to Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And Deion
He was
didn't
in
make him
Tampa
a
Bay as
coordinator.
well. He was in Tampa
Deion
Bay
didn't
as
make him a
well.
coordinator.
Nope.
Deion was like, "Come on, be a position coach, but I don't want you to be a coordinator. You just came from being a pro coordinator, but I don't want you to be my coordinator." You know, that. What do people think of him? You know, I want him to get a shot. Selfishly, I'm an African American coach, and I want him to be. I like black coaches, black head coaches. I am extremely biased when it comes to that.
Yeah,
because I believe the league and all three levels of football have been extremely biased when hiring minority, especially black head football coaches. But I do have some questions on what even we think of him at that level, people that are at that level. Because if I'm Coach Deion Sanders, I'm like, come on in and run my offense.
Yeah.
You know, you ran offense with Tom Brady.
And in Pittsburgh too. And in Pittsburgh too. And he was more, and fundamentally, they say he was more successful in Pittsburgh, even though with the Tampa they won the Super Bowl and Tom Brady. I mean, I don't remember anything that said he was an embarrassment or he did anything bad. It's got to be something else that we haven't been made aware of. Because the guy played. Remember, this is a guy who played in Marshall on a broken ankle that last quarter, right?
Exactly.
On a real live broken ankle in college, right? And then came to the league and played for Jacksonville as a very good quarterback. And then went into coaching. And there's been nothing that says, "Oh, he's terrible," or but it's like it's faded away.
Yeah. What about were you guys surprised when Flores stayed in Minnesota?
Well, the hitch is if there's a head coaching job, he can leave. So what they said was, listen, we're gonna make you the highest paid DC, but if a head coaching job comes out, there's an out. I think that was the best way to go about and respect the guy who you have a lot of love for in your organization.
The other head coaching hire, we're just kind of running through these as I scroll through Schefter's account, is the Baltimore Ravens. You know, the Chargers gain a coordinator and then they lose a coordinator. The Baltimore Ravens are hiring Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter as their head coach, signing a 5-year contract. Minter reunites with the team he coached from 2017 to 2020. Your guys' thoughts on that hire?
My guys are Baltimore fans that they rather have an offensive guy.
I've seen a mix of opinion. I've seen people say they wanted more defensive minded instead of offensive minded.
Yeah, I'm just talking about guys I know personally. I'm talking about, right? I haven't dug as much deep into it to find out or to think about it. I guess Jesse Minter's a pretty good coach, based off of what people are saying now. But going back, I don't want to belabor the point, but what's his resume match up against Byron Leftwich?
Yeah, good point.
What I love is when I listen to ex-NFL players talk about hiring professional NFL head coaches, and the majority of them always talk about, I don't care if he's a defensive mind or offensive mind. We need somebody who can lead the team, who's a leader. when we start coaching to one player, one side of the ball, one position, then you can't be the CEO of the whole team, and something gets left out.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is Mentor a leader?
We'll find out.
If he is, that's a good organization for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been there before, right?
Yeah.
As an assistant.
Yep.
So they know his voice. They know what he can command and what he can't. So, but let's talk about the real. Why don't nobody want Cleveland, the Browns job?
Why doesn't nobody want the Raiders job?
Dude, they just talked about that. They make you do an essay. You do a mental evaluation test. They also give you homework in case you get the second round. You got homework to do on the way back. Cleveland Browns are the most analytic front office in the NFL. They just did a story on this one on ESPN.
What? I'm surprised.
I heard about that. You know what my theory is about that is? You are purposely trying to run older coaches away. You're purposely trying to run people who want to run their own program away.
Yeah.
You want young coaches that you can control.
Yeah.
Yep. Give me a young coach that I can control.
Hey, you know what the nickname of the city of Cleveland is? The Mistake by the Lake. So you're gonna sit there and have the audacity to act like you're on the West Coast and the beaches. You're in Cleveland.
The more and more we get through this, the more and more I feel confident that the Raiders won't hire a coach until Brady's done broadcasting for the year. The more and more we get through this, I don't have any thoughts on Cleveland, so I'm not trying to just overskip your guys.
I think they know who they want.
Who?
Oakland. Vegas. I think they know who they want.
Who?
I don't know the guy. I think they know who they want.
You think it's McDermott? You think they're going to talk to McDermott? I'm surprised no one's talked to him.
For me, I just think Vegas knows who they want. And listen, man, these guys, everybody got a cell phone, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey, sit tight, bro. I got you. Don't worry about it.
I'm curious like I said, I don't think they make a decision until Brady's done broadcasting, and then maybe they'll announce the hire.
Well, maybe not a public decision, but I think privately, I think either maybe McDermott, or
I still think it may be Flores.
I think those are the two guys, right? For me, if I'm a Raiders guy, I'd probably want Flores because he's tough.
Yes. Yeah, I'd probably want Flores. I think Brady would want Flores. Your first conversation when you're the Raiders has to be, what are your plans with Mendoza? Are you going to play Mendoza? Do you want somebody? Do you want him to sit? I think that's the first thing you got to talk about is, what does Brady want for Mendoza? What does Mark Davis want for Mendoza? What is the coach that you interview? All the coaches that you talk to, what is their plan for Mendoza? What is the plan for Fernando Mendoza coming into this organization? Are you playing him? Are you benching him? What is the game plan around here? Coach Ramon, I'll ask you, if you were, say the Raiders hired you, say Tom Brady wants Coach Ramon in the Raiders, and Ramon gets Las Vegas money and we turn into the Raiders podcast or something. That would have to happen, by the way. Ramon goes to Raiders. We moving out west. We're exclusively covering the Raiders.
Hey,
Ramon,
I would first tell you to keep your homes in Indiana because I'm probably going to be fired within 3 years.
Ramon, what would you do with Mendoza? Would you play him, or would you want a quarterback? Would you want him to sit maybe for the first couple weeks, sit for the whole season? What would you do? And say you can't do nothing else. Say the organization's like, you got to draft Mendoza, even if you don't think Mendoza is going to pan out in your head. What is your game plan, or what do you think should be the game plan for any coach coming in? Because they're going to take Mendoza.
Well, they tell me that I got to draft Mendoza, then they're probably going to tell me I got to play him too.
Yeah.
I can't say. Here's the problem, man. And I know people are going to jump on this podcast and talk crazy and hit me with the who, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, the system that Mendoza is in is not going to be comparable to the system he's probably going to run in the NFL, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah,
that's going to be an issue in the learning curve. Now, I'm not saying he can't be an outstanding NFL quarterback, but I just can't see it happening immediately because of the system that he was in.
Yeah.
All right. So how quick does he transition? How quick does he get used to getting hit all the time? So those are things that's going to, how's he feel about losing consistently? Because that's probably what he's going to do. And they're probably going to be in the draft again next year in the top 1 to 5.
Yeah.
And how's that going to affect an offensive coach? I mean, offensive player, quarterback. The good thing is that if he's drafted by number 1 by the Raiders, he's coming in with a brand new coach, so he's going to have at least 3 years with him, probably. You know, and so he's going to have that same offensive coordinator for some time, so he can learn. So if you got a new coach coming in with a new quarterback, a new OC, you know, maybe take him slow.
Yeah, I would agree.
Slow, because he can learn with these 3. Hey, look, we're going to put you on a 1.5-year program. By year 2, week 8, week 9, you're going to be starting. That gives you a lot of reps, a lot of time, a lot of chalkboard, a lot of video, a lot of clipboard. You know, it gives you a lot of time to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I think with Mendoza, he has shown he can take a hit. I mean, he got hit every game he played from the conference championship game to now. He took a big hit in all those games. I think my biggest thing, Ramon, and maybe I wonder if you agree with me. I think his biggest problem, I think there's 2, is his ability to control the offensive line. I think, picking out, what coverages, if he needs to change it or what. I'm curious how strong that truly is. And I think the second thing is, if it's not an RPO or a screen pass or something like that, how good is his decision-making? First read, second read. Do I need to dump it off in the flats? That's stuff that, when I watched IU all this year, he didn't have to do a lot of because it was mainly RPO, screen pass. I mean, that whole national championship game, they run the ball first down, run the ball second down, RPO second down, or RPO third down, or they actually let him pass the ball. But I think a lot of what he did this year, there wasn't a lot of him having to decision make when passing the ball. It was all really set up for him. So that's kind of my biggest thing is how, when in the end, how much can he decision make without, okay, well, you can either pick to hand the ball off or pass it, or here's a screen pass or whatever. I think those are my 2 biggest things just watching him over the course of this year is I know he can put the ball on a dime and throw it well, but can he decision make and can he make those different protection coverages if the time is needed? Does he have that strong of an IQ once he's a part of an NFL organization, or is that going to take time, like you said, to sit him down for 8 weeks or the course of a full NFL year? But the problem that has been brought to my attention is if you're drafting him number 1 overall, that's $25 million or something sitting on the bench for you for a whole year.
But here's the thing: it's like putting your money into an account. Okay,
that's true.
You don't get the return on the same day. Okay, you got to be patient, and you can ruin. And we talked about this. Yes. No quarterback in this upcoming draft should be playing significant time this first year. Insert name here. My guy Mendoza and anybody else behind it.
Yeah.
And you I've seen a lot of these guys ruined. We've seen, not just me, we've seen guys ruined.
Unfortunately.
And again, there's no need. So, okay, he's not going to come in and be Dan Marino, okay? No. There's only one Dan Marino, okay? And he's not Dan Marino. And he's not RG3, right? Or he's not, first year Andrew Luck, but he had a good team around him, right? But he doesn't have a good team around him. Hell, he don't even know who his position coach is going to be. Remember, they fired the OC in week 10 this year.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have a head coach. You got a running back who's going to break the first tackle when he's hit 3 yards behind the line.
They just got to get him an O-line.
You got an O-line that's in flux. So sit him and listen. If it's fourth quarter, it's 37-10, get him out there, right? Let him get that feel. But if you're saying to me, we're going to have Mendoza play significant time at the quarterback position his rookie year, I think it's a mistake. Let him learn. It's a big difference. It's a big difference in this college football and NFL, and just be okay with it.
And I say this.
I mean, when was the last time Raiders did anything? And I don't have it in front of me.
20
around the same time the Wizards.
Yep, 2016, and then Derek Carr got hurt, which killed their season. Yeah,
right. So let's not act like, well, we're just used to winning. Just win, baby. That went away with the Jerry curls and the bell bottoms back in the 70s and the early 80s.
Yeah.
So put him on the bench, let him learn, and play him when he can. Blow out games and that type of thing. Absolutely. But anything significant? I would say no.
Please. And if I'm the Raiders, I mean, I think the best example of this is really the Carolina Panthers, where they tried to rush Bryce Young into the starting job. He got benched, and everyone was like, man, that sucks for Stroud. And, we were all, I was very vocal about it, and this was way before the pod. I was like, they shouldn't have played him in the first place. Then Dalton played. Then Bryce Young came back in. And, man, look what Bryce Young's doing now. He almost took out the Rams, who are now in the NFC Championship game. And no one thought the Panthers were going to keep that game that close. So, I mean, you got to sit him. I really think you should. And I think Daryl makes a great point. If you're going to draft this guy number 1 overall, I get you're paying him this much money, but it's about an investment. You're making an investment with this guy. And I think the Raiders have to take that into consideration. And, once again, I didn't mean to stop the Cleveland conversation you guys were having, but it's Cleveland.
No, it's all good. No, it's all
Cleveland.
good.
It's Cleveland. I just think, for me right now, I think the Raiders, they're still one of the more interesting jobs. Obviously, the Bills job freed up, and that became really interesting. The Ravens, the Steelers, a lot of interesting jobs filled up. I would say right now, for me, my 2 favorite hires of the whole offseason was obviously Harbaugh to the Giants and then Saleh to the Titans. I know Robert Saleh doesn't have the best record on resume as a head coach, but he was in New York. I get it. I mean, he was in the Jets. I'm not going to put that against him. I like Saleh to the Titans, and I like Harbaugh to the Giants. And then my other one is McDaniel going to the Chargers as their offensive coordinator, because I called for him to probably be gone after they lost in the wild card, but it was everybody's fault. I'm not saying it was just his. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see what happens with the Raiders and the Browns and the Bills. I think those are the last 3. There may be one more, but I don't really remember, to be honest with you. So, Ramon, you got any thoughts to jump back in there on anybody, Buffalo?
Yeah, my 2 favorite hires in this carousel is the real Harbaugh to the Giants, not the fake Harbaugh over at the other school. The real Harbaugh, right? And then Arthur Smith to the Buckeyes.
I was going to bring that up to end off the show. I just was holding it for a second.
Arthur Smith to the Buckeyes, coordinator. I actually like that hire.
Okay. Daryl, what are your top 2?
I don't have a lot on the Arthur Smith deal. I just saw a lot of Steelers fans are clowning, but they were clowning Mike Tomlin too. So they're just blowing with the wind.
They're all over the place.
I think bringing in an NFL offensive coordinator for an NFL type of talented team is a great thing. I think when you've got that, he's gonna have patience. He's not gonna be willy-nilly, and there's gonna be more structure around the strengths of his players. So I could live with that. I could see that being a good deal. I really could.
And also, God, my Buckeyes, we do better when we have an offensive coordinator who's dedicated to the run. Every time we've had successful groups is because we had an OC who wanted to run the ball. Kelly wants to run the ball. Arthur wants to run the ball. People, when we run the ball, everybody that Urban brought in wanted to run the ball. Everybody Tressel brought in wanted to run the ball. When we want to start throwing the ball everywhere and become this pass-happy team, we don't fare well.
No, I would agree with that. And other teams as well too. You still got to run the ball, man. It's nice and it looks great when you're throwing the ball all over the field, but when it gets stuff, you still got to be able to get between the line of scrimmage and make things happen. So I think Arthur Smith is going to do good. I mean, listen, it's hard not to do well when you've got top 5 talent that's playing for you. That's at all positions pretty much, especially skill positions, right? Quarterback, running backs, receivers. It's hard, man. It's hard not to.
My third favorite hire, real quick, because I didn't bring it up. Man, Cowboys stealing the Eagles cornerback coach. I love this hire. especially with how putrid our secondary was. I thought the Matt Eberflus hire was horrible when they announced it. I was like, man, this guy has never been a good coach. He was horrible in Chicago. He was all right in Indianapolis. I never really liked him that much. I do like this hire. And I think, with how bad this secondary is, I think he will help hopefully make this secondary better. He developed some decent players out there in Philadelphia, and I say decent, as an understatement. I like this hire for Dallas. This is probably my favorite hire in the third slot, I would say. But props to Tennessee, the Chargers. I like their coordinator hire.
You got Atlanta on your mind, don't you? You got Atlanta on your mind.
I do. I like the Chargers hire too. I like McDaniel as a coordinator, as we've talked about, right, Daryl? We don't want him as a head coach, but I think as a coordinator, he could do some good things in Los Angeles world. We will see what happens. Yep. There is rumors that Brian Daboll may be going to the Titans as their offensive coordinator, but that's also who the Bills interviewed also Ramon for the head coaching job. They talked to Daboll as well. I forgot to bring that up. That was all me. But I think it's going to do it. That is going to wrap up this show. Thank you guys for tuning in to Game Time Live, waiting out the storm, and it's still snowing out. It's still snowing really hard out.
And they just text me, let me know school is canceled tomorrow.
There you go.
E-learning.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, some of us can enjoy it, some of us cannot get it. But if you don't have to be out in this mess, don't get out in this mess. And especially if you're going to get out in this mess, get where you got to go and get home. But this is a message to all you people who don't change your tires. Look at your two front tires. Most cars are front wheel drive. This is why you rotate your tires. Because right now, those of y'all with the slick backs in the front and the two front tires, y'all gonna struggle. Rotate your tires when it's warm out, so you won't have these problems.
Just got my tires rotated, so thank you to Robbie.
I got four new tires, but I'm rear wheel drive, man. It's terrible.
Man, my plan is to be until Wednesday at least. I don't want to go nowhere.
Well, folks, we want to make sure everybody is safe. Make sure you guys are safe as this show begins to wrap up. Big thank you to our sponsors, Matt Gaddis, Wired to the Nines, and Bigsy's Restaurant. Fellas, do we want to do a show tomorrow, or what are we thinking? What are we feeling? We
work tomorrow. I got a 38-second drive to work tomorrow. Okay. And I'm behind the 8 ball for this past.
You're all good. I don't know if I'm gonna go into work tomorrow. Maybe they'll tell everyone to stay home from work. But I don't have work till 4, so maybe the roads will be decent.
I ain't got nothing to do.
Well, if I have to go to work, I'll let you guys know. Right? If I don't have work, I'll text the group chat. But if I do have work, I'll keep you guys updated. But folks, we'll have clips coming out this week. Thank you guys for enjoying the stream. Ramon, Daryl, once again, thank you guys. Another really good show today. That is going to do it, folks. We will see you guys sometime this week for some more of Game Time Live. See you guys soon. See you later.